Good morning, guys. So today we're going to install the FassFuel system for our DIY solutions build. If you can see right here, we got quite the kit. We have our Fass 220 paired with our Beans Diesel multi-port sump, and then we have our XDP fuel bowl delete kit. Okay, these lines right here with this and this. So the game plan here is to install all of this on our build right back there. We're going to go through step-by-step processes of what we do here in-house so you guys can see that. So let's get started. All right, folks, so here we are underneath our truck. Over here you can see got the front of the truck over there, and we're on our way back. Okay, so in the Fass directions they say to mount it right here. Okay, it comes with a bracket that you slide in right here. Adam, would you hand me that bracket that you slide in right here? You put a bolt with some rubber to keep it from vibrating. They say to mount it right here. It's a great spot to mount it, and it works great. I like to put them in our customs location, and the reason I like to do that, I like it to be tucked up underneath. Okay, but you would slide this in here just like so to that point right there. Line that up, put your rubber on the top and the bottom, mount your L bracket, and then mount your Fass to the L bracket. Ultimately, I do it my own way. When you look at the Fass directions, this is the cool part about doing some of this stuff. It's such a butt to get out of there. Is you get to do it a little more customized to suit your needs. That's a lot of the diesel or any aftermarket modifications for any vehicle that you're building. It comes down to customization. You get to put your own spin on it. This is a pain to get out of here, apparently. I'm gonna have to grab myself a screwdriver. So anyways, we mounted ours right over here. This is where I mount pretty much every kit. Depends on if I'm installing it or if one of our techs are installing it, and just following the directions. We mount ours right here. Yes, it's close to the drive shaft. Ultimately, if you don't have, if you don't feel comfortable about this, put it right over there. We put it on this right here countless times. If you're racing or something, you got to put a loop right here anyways. So it's going to keep it protected. I like to keep it protected underneath the frame, inside the frame. That's the reason that I mount it right here. After we get this mounted, the next thing we would do is disconnect our fuel lines. Oh gosh. From our HFCM, we removed ours. Fass directions say to leave the HFCM in place. You certainly can. There's nothing wrong with that. I remove it. No point in having it there. So I ultimately like to remove them. And I do a few other special things that I'll teach you guys in this video, so that way you can see it. But the next thing we're going to do, just following along with the directions, just to show you guys, the next thing that you would do is hook up your return lines, and then plumb your fuel line from there over to here, drop your tank, and hook up everything. The reason we have a sump is because we're trying to flow more fuel and make it a little bit easier of an install. Okay, that's really the biggest reason that I run a sump. The sump prevents you from having to pull the tank, which makes it a little bit easier. So that's the reason that we run a sump here in-house. It's not needed, no. The FassFuel system comes with everything to mount it and install it without a sump. So it's one of those, one half dozen of the other. Do you want to drop the tank, or do you want to drill a hole in the tank and put a sump in? So we're going to continue on with the build, and we'll chime back in just a minute when we have the next step done. Okay guys, so on the tank, this is where we install our sumps at. But what I do is I put the sump up, position it to where I know that it's not going to roll over this edge, and that it's not going to hit the edge back here. Okay, and then I'll reach through with and put a marking on the tank, just like so. So there's my mark right there, just so everybody else can see. It's just a light mark with this. Grab yourself a pin, whatever. I'm using a drill bit. You don't want to put it right here. That's where your pickup tube's at, or your fuel gauge. You can put it further back. I put it right here so it makes less line exposed underneath. Some of these trucks have a guard that covers the tank on the bottom side. In order to install this, you'll have to cut a hole in that guard. But anyways, we're going to get started drilling this out. This is messy. I always use a small one first. And I'm going to take and puncture it with the bit. The bit comes with all these kits. Just right on my hole. what I'll do is I'll drill until it starts draining, as you guys can see, and then I'm gonna let it drain, and then I'll finish drilling afterwards, because this diesel fuel will take out your drill, so you don't want to do that. Okay, so we're gonna let this drain and we'll be back. 75 hours later, or close to 25 gallons of diesel, we finally have this bad boy drained, so we can get to work on installing the sump. So if you notice, we while we're off camera, we kind of just prepped a little bit. So you have two ports in here. This is your return port, and this is your suction port. The big one on the suction side, small one on the return side. So now we're going to finish up drilling and getting this sump installed. Let's go ahead and get this started. Alrighty, we're finally through. Now I'm just going to take a razor and kind of clean up the edges, just like so. Oops. Gotta be careful not to cut yourself. Alrighty. Like I said, you might want to grab your oldest drill to do this with, because you will cause some damage to your drill with that diesel fuel on it. As you can see, our Milwaukee's getting a little worn out from doing this stuff. So now we're going to take and roll the inside piece up in there. Then we're going to make sure we have our O-ring put in there, right there where my finger's at. Okay, and this can be a little tricky to get started. Once you get it started, oh dang it. There we go. Just like that, she started. Now, snug it up nice and tight. I like to kick the lines a little bit this way, and the reason being, Adam, if you'll follow me, I run it through here, then I put the lines through the strap right here, and that is just to keep them nice and snug and protected. So it gives me a good spot to zip tie, because obviously I have nowhere to zip tie right here. So that's what we do. That's what we always do. Then they go up here to the Fass. Pretty easy to get to there. Now we'll just probably give it a quick rinse down with some brake clean. That rinse done for now. And that is the sump install. You know, Fass has got their directions and they work great. There's been plenty of these pickups, or plenty of these kits installed with following the Fass directions. So we're not saying not to follow them. We're just here to show you what we do, and if it works better for you, more power to you. As this rubber band says, void if removed. So do not remove this rubber band, or else you'll void your warranty per Fass. That's definitely something important, because these have a lifetime warranty, so you don't want to get rid of them. So per the Fass directions that you can download on your phone, this side is your suction side from the tank. This is your return. This is your engine supply. These extra plugs are for heaters. We're not going to install any. We don't need them. So, but they are great additions. If you live where it's super cold, it's not a bad idea to use them. Engine supply. This return one would go in the top of the tank. If we were dropping the top of the tank, this would return there. And so would our suction side. But because we're running a sump, the return goes right over here to the small. The suction goes to the big fitting on your sump. And then this goes to the engine. So let's come up here. Let's talk about some electrical stuff and routing of lines. If you've been around this build, you've been watching it, you know that we're doing a fuel bowl delete, regular return, whole bunch of stuff. So there's a lot of this here we don't need. That's why we took the HFCM out. It's probably one of the biggest reasons why we took it out. So the factory return line is on the top of your HFCM. So what we're going to do is we're going to put together a piece of the line that comes with the FASS and the two fittings, and we're going to reuse that for sure. This side right here is the suction from the tank. When you buy the Beans Diesel 280003 kit that's listed on our website, the reason that I suggested it's $3 more than the 28002, but the reason that the 5/8 kit that I suggested is it comes with a plug for this guy right here. So you don't have to get any craziness. All you got to do is take this plug and put it right in there. Okay, the stock fuel system will continue to siphon when you have this removed, so it makes it super easy to install this if you buy the 2008 3 kit. Using the chin to hold it, we're going to slide that bad boy right in there. So now it will no longer siphon from the tank. So you don't have to remove this line. This line we're going to bypass. If we had the cab up, I would remove this line completely. But just for ease right now, we're not going to worry about this. All I'm going to do is end up zip tying it out of the way. And then we're going to take from the engine supply on our FASS, and it's going to go all the way up and right into the heads. So we're going to bypass all this factory line, which is going to increase our fuel flow, especially since we're building a decent build here. We've got a decent build going. It's going to allow it to make sure we have plenty of fuel supplied to the engine. So now we're going to talk about the electronics. Now this is your stock harness. This is your water and fuel sensor. Some trucks have a built-in heater in the HFCM, so you have 3 of them here. Ours does not. And then this is your pump supply right here. I've already spliced it off, cut it off, okay? The reason that I do that, now in the FASS directions, FASS has you run the power supply to the pump. Of course, you got to put the positive and ground to the battery, run that to a relay, and then you put a key on. You're supposed to find a key on engine, or key on engine off power source for the FASS. So when you turn the key on, it turns the pump on. Works great, no problems. The way that I like to do it here, I like to remove the HFCM, and then I personally cut this bad boy off. And the reason for this is cleanness of installation, I'll say, is probably the #1 reason that we do this. Also, I don't like to see those trucks that the technician or whoever installed it, which I've seen it happen, they put it to an always on source. So like if the key's on and the door hasn't been opened, they'll put it to like the radio, because it's an easy one. It's always got power when the key's on. So they'll put it to the radio. Well, guess what happens? If you don't open and close your doors, your pump stays on. Say you pull up to the party and you're just sitting there hanging out in your truck, listening to some music, you know, whatever, and you don't turn your key off or you don't open your door, your pump stays on constantly. Personally, I just don't think it makes any sense. So we take and cut off the factory harness, and this guy right here, this red, or sometimes it's a little orangish, red and black one, is your power key on to your factory fuel pump. So this supplies power to the FASS, is what we do with our installs here. Just a clean installation. Comes from the FASS straight to here. You don't got to go through the cab or the fuse box and find anything. No kits on the market include a plug for it. I don't know why. I'm not the one who designs them. All I can tell you is this is how we do it, and it makes it to where it's nice and clean. Now, I'll say one other thing. When you install a FASS, and I've had this happen to 2 customers recently, called me up, chatted on the phone. Took a little while to kind of figure out what was going on. We had to go through a whole bunch of diag for no reason. Come to find out, another shop installed a FASS for one of them, and then gave up and told the customer that the engine had low compression, and it needed a new engine. So a friend of mine bought this truck from them, got a screaming deal, got a really good deal. I'm super jelly, I ain't gonna lie. Anyways, it's a clean Harley. He bought this truck. So he calls me up, tells me what the guy that he got the truck from told him. So we go through the diag stuff. He finds that a ficum's bad. We put a ficum in it. Okay, still, now it's at least start and die, start and die, start and die. Every time you turn the key on, turn the key back on, it'll start and die. From previous other customers, I knew exactly what it was right away. I told him, okay, look, that shop just installed a Fast 165. Go check the fuel pump fuse and your main fuse panel and see if it's in there. Lo and behold, it was not. Put the fuel pump fuse in, boom, truck fired right up. This all from a shop that said that the truck needed a new engine. Pretty funny. Basically, what the whole moral of the story is here: do not remove your factory fuse in your factory for the fuel pump in your fuel, because then the truck doesn't think it's getting any fuel, so it stops commanding injection of fuel. Thought that'd be common sense. Unfortunately, I've heard of it happening to 2 customers recently. So, and one of them, my buddy who bought this truck, he got a screaming deal on it because of something as simple as that. And some shop installed the FES and didn't know what they were doing, and they removed the factory fuse for the pump, so it would start and die right away because the truck doesn't see the fuel pump turning on, so therefore it thinks it has a problem. It doesn't want to hurt itself. So, moral of the story, don't do that. Just put your FASS straight to this wire right here, and you'll never have to worry about it. We made our fuel line, our return line real quick, just out there. Just a quick 6-inch hose, put the fittings that come in the FASS kit on either side, boom, pop it in. Simply simple. Now, we came back here. After that, we came back here, and we put our engine supply fitting in. We used the 7/8 socket. I recommend using a socket because you can't get a ratchet or a crescent wrench on there very easily, obviously by the positioning. So 7/8 socket, deep socket fits right in there. And then we put our 90-degree elbow in on the suction side from the tank. So if you look at the orientation of this, that's how we always set them up, because then it's pretty much boom, goes straight back to the strap that I was talking about, and then you can route it underneath. Keeps it nice and clean install. Real quick, we wanted to chat with you about what we do here at our shop. Obviously, we changed the location of mounting. What that does will change some of the directions that the FASS gives you. If you mount it where the FASS tells you to mount it, you don't need any more of this extra hose. Okay, as a 5/8 fuel line, of course we keep a lot of this stuff around, so we have extra. Now the other difference that we do is we always put a shutoff valve. Who knows if you're ever gonna have a problem on the suction side, and I'll end up in the long run installing one on the return side as well. But if you ever have to pull it and your tank is full, the shutoff valve comes in handy. Okay, so your local Ace Hardware, Fastenal, any hydraulic shop will have these fittings that come in your kit. It'll come with one of these. You would need 2 of them and a ball valve, and you'll be good to go. Now, quick tech tip. These are a pain to get on, but once you get them all in, they should never leak. You won't get that off. I can promise you that. You'll have to cut it if you want it to come off. But what we do is we give it just a little bit of heat. So we're gonna give it just a smidge of heat. And then we're going to press it on. And it's a wrestling match, but you want to go all the way down. You want to make sure that it gets all the way flush up against the yellow cap of that thing, essentially. Alrighty, she is on. Now we're going to take this fitting and we're going to press it onto this side. Okay. There's 2 ways you can do that. Yes, a little bit of lube also helps, and it doesn't hurt the fuel system to put a little bit of PB Blaster in there, or you just give it a quick shot of heat. And then push it in there. Boom. It's installed. We're gonna go underneath here and we're gonna route this guy and check for our length and make sure we're good. As you can see, this is the hose we build. All right, you got that crescent wrench over there somewhere, brother? Where do we put it at? I know it's underneath here somewhere. So I think it is. Where the heck did it go? Okay, so this guy threads on right here. Okay, should be nice and snug there. Now I'm going to take this thing and, like I said, run it through here. Boy, that worked out perfectly for that doesn't always happen, folks. That worked out like spot on. Okay, so now we got our measurement, so we're going to take and cut this bad boy off, slide it on, and put a clamp on. And then it looks like we only needed about 2 inches more, but that worked out pretty well. Now this side only has one. Make sure that it has one flare. That's what it is. Oh shoot! You guys see how good of a grab that thing has? I was just trying to get some fuel on it. Whoa! Did I cover up the light? You can still see. It's kind of a butt to get that, to get this one on there. But once you have it grabbed, usually pretty good. Okay, that should be good enough. So now we're gonna plumb in our return side. I pressed the hose onto the push lock, got her snugged up. Over here. You're going to want to pull this without kinking it to where it's snug right here. If you guys look at this, see how we're not kinked? Another way you could do it is when you go to Fastenal or go to your Fastenal or your Ace Hardware, you could get a push lock with a 90. Kit doesn't come with a 90, so I don't have any on me at the moment. But anyways, we're going to zip tie it right here so it's nice and snug, and it won't cause any issues. Alrighty. The goal is just to make sure that it doesn't come out past that bracket right there. And then I'm going to do one on this side as well. There we go. Okay. Next, come back here, measure, and press this bad boy on. Okay, you're going to want to save this. This is for installing the fuel supply line next. Oops. Give it a little heat. Gosh dang it. I didn't get enough heat, folks. Whoops, a little too much heat that time. And still being a butthead. Needless to say, as much of a struggle as it is, you want to get that as close as you can. Only helps make sure it seals properly, and then we always take and install the clamps just for good measure. That's really the only reason that these are on here. They're not needed technically, but good measure. Okay. The cool thing about this is about installing and doing some custom work to your vehicle, your truck. It allows you to use your own ideas. You know, what I'm doing is not 100% the way you have to do it. So don't, you know, think that my instructions trump the way that Fass does. Apply some knowledge to it and get creative. If you see a better way of doing it, do it, you know? See something that works better for your install, have at it. We've built a lot of custom fuel systems using Fass pumps over the years. And if the cab was off, I'd probably remove all the fuel lines. But it's not, so it stays. We've done this before where we've used ball valves right out of the sump, and that looks nice and clean as well. And then the lines go to that. I'll probably come back in the long run and put a ball valve on this return side at some point. But for now, this is going to have to work. Pet peeve of mine to see zip ties not snipped off. I hate it. Just really messes with my OCD. Now, yeah, I probably didn't need the zip ties right here. Just my own personal opinion. Make sure it's nice and safe. Okay, now we're going to work on our supply to the engine. Now we're going to go ahead and install our supply line to our Fass, and then from this Fass to the engine, I mean. And then we're also going to preemptively install our regulated return, or part of it, I should say. We're going to put this bad boy fitting in. Okay, this is part of our XDP regulated return. It's part of our XDP regulated return, and this is part of the fuel bowl delete kit. As we go through this video, we'll be able to show you more of how that works, but here's the regulated return. So we have our supply and return line. This tool can be bought over at your local AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Napa, whatever, Snap-on. You'll push this guy in here. Basically, we did this off camera because they can be stuck and we didn't want to fight them on camera. If you look in this fitting, you can see the 4 little prongs. They grab that edge and they hold it in. This line will no longer be used in this build. As I've stated a couple times, we can, if the cab was up or if we felt like it, we'd cut it out and fight it all the way out. I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to chase it. Now we've got that bad boy out. Oh, that was like magic. And we're going to install this for the return side. Now this goes back to the return in your tank. Pop that in. When we get our heads installed, both lines off the back of the heads will come to the regulator and then go to here. Next, we're going to route our supply line down to the Fass. This Y fitting right here comes in your regular or your fuel bowl delete kit. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to give this a quick snug, and I'm going to place it to where it's got a little bit of room because the lines come up to each side of the head when we get the heads installed, okay? I'm just going to give us a little bit of room up here. Realistically, grabbing 2 crescents is the way to do it, but that's snug enough. We'll check snugness when we're all said and done. So now I'm just going to lay that out there, and you're just going to want to think about how you route this, where it's protected, of course. Follow the frame. This is where having a buddy under there right now would help, but we'll get that done. I'm just going to get this pushed in there. And then I'm going to grab myself, once I've got this placed where I want it to be, I'm going to grab myself so I like to put it to where it's about right there. Probably a little more than it needs. But it's better to have too much than not enough, honestly, with this situation. You can always zip tie it and hold it down. Right there, you've got a hole right there. You could run it through and zip tie it and hold it in place. This is that custom side of it. I'm going to zip tie that so we don't pull it too far. It's a little dark right in here, but pull that nice and snug so I can't pull it through anymore. And now we're going to go underneath. Now I've got it there, so I'm going to zip tie it in a few places up here real quick. What I like to do, folks, is come up here and zip tie all the fuel lines together, grab them all, and just make sure it's safe, you know. Make sure you got clearance from your drive shaft up here, which we should be good. I might throw 1 or 2 more on there just to make sure, but and then I run that line behind the harness that goes to the transmission and the transfer case, and then I'll take and zip tie it to the old fuel lines just for a secure place to zip tie it. Next, we're going to make sure that we're going to get this to where it's close enough. Okay, so before I cut or put zip ties in, I'm going to bring this around, and I'll probably do this one up here like this is what I generally like to do, just for keeping it clean. So we've got our measurement right here. See my handy dandy knife, it's behind your head. If you got yours. Thank you, sir. Oh. Don't cut yourself now, man, that'd be bad. Adam's got a dull blade in here, guys. Okay, now I'm going to put my fitting on. Where did I put the fitting at? There it is. And once again, push this all the way to where the push lock's all the way on, and it's locked into place. And then come around here. So here's the harness. Pretty straightforward. There's this one that goes back to the pump right here. This one goes to your key on power source. We talked about that already, where we're going to put that. This one goes to your battery. Obviously this truck's pretty far from a battery, so we're not going to worry about putting that in. And then here's your relay. Got that pushed in there. I personally just zip tie these like right in here. Once batteries are in and everything else, then we'll worry about all of that. Just clean it up, make sure it looks good. Don't forget to put your fuse right here. The Fast Kit also comes with some crimp fittings, so you'll take and cut this off, crimp your wires on, put that to your battery. Put the one to your battery, and then if you look right here, this is the ground that I put my Fast 2. So that way I don't have to mess up the battery cables to take and hook up the ground to it, okay? So put your Fast right to there. The ground wire right to there. and then your positive over here. Obviously we're nowhere near that yet, so we're not going to hook that up. But we're just going to get started routing this. We know this has got to stay up here. The rest of it's going underneath. So what I do is I route it like this just to kind of keep it out of the way. The rest of this going down there. So climb in here and try to plan this out properly. I'm going to run this down here and kind of follow your factory harness. Got that guy done. Ow. I'm gonna grab my butt connector. Now the Fast kit doesn't come with a butt connector. This is the fuse that they give you, the add a fuse kit, and it works. I'm not saying you don't have to use this. I'm saying that the way that I do it is a little different. So I'm trying to show you guys our way because there's directions that walk you through how to use this stuff. So I'm gonna do it my way. Okay, now that I'm underneath here, I know that one of these, the power wire, the fuse power, is not going to go very far, so I'm not going to pull that one through right now. So this wire I'm just going to leave sitting over here. This one I'm going to grab from over here and start following the factory harness, making sure that it stays tucked up in behind everything. Adam's got it now, so I'll give him it. And he's gonna guide it back there.
What I did was just plug it right in to the harness. Super easy to plug in. You can only plug it in one way because there's no clip on the bottom here, so you can't mess that up.
Now we're going to hook up our power wire over here, and then we'll come back through and clean up all the harness and everything. All this extra harness we're gonna put back here. I routed my key on power source already. It's really nothing crazy to route that, and then I put a few zip ties in place. Just want to make sure it stays nice and clean, out of the way. So now if I ever needed to pull just the harness, I could. So, back to our original OEM harness right here. We're going to take and snip this off. Right there. Just give that a quick twist. It helps when putting the butt connector on there. You could solder this if you wanted, but this works just fine. Okay, so that's bad boys on there. Now, because I get the luxury of doing it this way, I get to cut a lot of this excess harness out of here. Pull this off. Strip that wire. As I stated in the directions, it does not say to do this. Can't stress that enough. You don't have to. This is just my way of doing it. And I just like it because it's nice and clean. Now that we have got all of our lines ran, this one goes all the way up to the fuel bowl. Delete right here. This one is your return to the sump. This is your feed line from the sump right over here. This is the plug that Adam plugged in. and this is basically your power from the fuse, or from the relay, and key on power down here, okay? So if you look, we went back through and we tucked up everything nice and snug. As you can see, we have no fuel leaking, so that's a good thing. All the fuel's put back in. We went back through, zip tied everything up nice and tidy, made sure that there's nothing that's gonna rub anywhere. Right here with the extra harness, just routed it up. As I was saying, you can take and cut this out if you wanted to and butt connect it together, but it's not necessary. We just came back through here. If you look, here's a final view of what this will look like when you do it this exact way. If you don't run a fuel bowl delete, this line right here that we ran up to the fuel bowl delete would go right into this right here. If you recall, we run our power to our FASS keyed on to the factory harness right here. As I stated in the directions, it doesn't tell you to do this. You don't have to do it this way, but this is the way that I've always done it, and what it does is it prevents any issues. It doesn't make the pump run constantly. It lets the pump still be controlled by the ECM, which is nice because when you pull up to the party or whatever, out of the drive-in movie theater, and you don't want your pump constantly running while you have your stereo turned on, okay? So we run this power wire to right here. There's a red and black, orange and black, pink and black, kind of just depends on the year of the truck. That's your power wire, okay? And then just zip tie it up nice and tidy. And that's pretty much the gist of it. So I'll go up top real quick and show you guys one last time where the fuel bowl delete is at, and then that's the gist of the FASS. We have a regular return pre-installed, the return line for it, okay? And then this is the fuel bowl delete. This runs to the FASS right underneath, and this will go to each head, left and right side, with the XDP lines that come with. So now to get on to the next step.